Surprise, surprise, is completely connected to today's theme. And it's number 61, forgiveness, holy medicine. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus on the cross in the Gospel of Luke, chapter 23, verse 34. And Emmanuel says, whenever you're besieged by illness, your instinctual response is to seek remedies that alleviate your fears. Pain relievers for physical discomfort, tranquilizers for mental distress. Essentially, when faced with bodily afflictions, your objective is to restore the functions of the affected organ. Recall this practice and acknowledge that there are sicknesses of the mind, such as complaints, sorrow, avoidance, and animosity. These illnesses demand appropriate treatment to restore your balance. Just as in physical illness, where rest without worry will fasten your healing, in spiritual illnesses, you require solace to regain strength. Forgiveness emerges as a sacred balm for mental well-being in daily life. As you wouldn't allow dirt and infections to stay in your physical body, likewise, do not harbor animosity and resentment in your soul. Extend forgiveness to those who vex or harm you. Forgive promptly, unconditionally, today and tomorrow. Bear in mind that every individual bears their own unique flaws and vulnerabilities, just as we ourselves grapple with our imperfections. That is why Jesus, the divine emissary, crucified by gratuitous persecution, begged God before his executioners, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And leaving the offenders in the inhibitions proper to each one, he sustained in himself the light of love that dissolves the shadow, inducing us to the conquest of eternal light. So let's close our eyes, leave the outside world behind. Let's take a deep breath in and out. Another deep breath in and out. And let us try and concentrate in being here in body, mind, and soul. As we ask God our Father, as we ask Jesus our Master, the spiritual mentors of our house, our home, our guardian angels, we ask them to help us, to support us. Master Jesus, we also thank you from the depths of our hearts for all the lessons you brought us, but most of all, for all the examples you gave us that show us that it's possible. Your examples lead us and show us that everything you can do, we can also do. For today's meeting, we ask that we might be able to learn a bit more, to understand a bit more Jesus' words, all the invitations that Jesus extends to us, that either we have not understood or that we have avoided for about 2,000 years now. now that we made the decision, may we find the strength to follow his example in thought, feeling, and actions. Thank you, Master. So be it. Okay, yay! Lots more. All right, so we have the announcements. So first announcement, we're gonna have the book club again after quite a while. And of course, we posted in the group for everybody to choose, and between heaven and earth, which is funny because in Portuguese it's the opposite, entre a terra e o céu, was chosen by most people, like by a landslide. So that's what we're doing. It's gonna be on November 15th. It's a Saturday at 3 p.m. and it's supposed to be 2 hours, but we always bring food and we have awesome conversations, and it usually lasts a bit more than the 2 hours because we're having too much fun and learning as well. Anybody who has ever been to one of those knows what I'm talking about. Okay, do we have pictures for the other announcements?
No.
No? Okay.
Just your words.
Okay, so here we go. Second announcement. We have some marmitas, doggy bags, from yesterday's event from Feijoada. So we have, Carol said 16, but I'm saying it's 15 because I just bought one. There are no side dishes, so it's like a container with feijoada only. So it's enough for 2 or 3 meals each container. So it's $17 per container. 18. And we also, 18. Thank you, $18 per container. And we also have farofa, and each package at $7. So if you want to buy feijoada and farofa, $25.
Right.
Okay? All right.
And also,
please wait till the end to run to Carol.
carrot cake.
Okay, I was gonna get there. Last announcement. Our baking sale for today, Mari generously made us carrot cake with brigadeiro on top.
It's a full deal, baby.
Yes, so it's meal, dessert, everything. I like this idea, no cooking on Sundays. It's awesome. All right.
For the book club, is the idea that we read the book by ourselves before and then we just discuss it?
Absolutely, yes. So thank you for the question. We are gonna read it ahead of time and we're gonna discuss there. We usually make a WhatsApp group because nobody has enough WhatsApp groups. We could always do with a few more. So we usually make a WhatsApp group for the book club. And if anybody finds stuff about the book, we share. So I have already found, I think, 3 videos about case studies from that book that are fascinating. So we also, in that group, we also share, like, take a look at this, take a look at that. They talk about the book.
Hey,
Yes.
quick question. Is it gonna be like an in-person event?
Yeah, it is in person. We have, in the past week, for people who cannot be here, we have started a Zoom meeting or anything, but it's not public.
Okay.
So if you are part of that WhatsApp group, we will post the link there, and anybody who wants to be part of the book club for that book will get the link. We're not gonna post the link in the general group.
Are you gonna post the link for the meeting?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because I have a friend in Toronto, so she might be interested.
All right.
And a big thing of the book club too, Matt, is like the socialization aspect.
Yes,
So,
it's
like,
important to be in
I
person.
really think like watching online, unless you can't make it in person, it's not a fair replacement. Because there's a lot of like socialization and like, of course, when we bring food to the table, then people just confront the headlines. Like,
Thank you.
I didn't know how to say. But
got
really, it's good to see people.
Where can we find it?
Sometimes it's just
Right?
Where can we find it?
Well, if there isn't a word for it, we just make one. Why not? Okay, are we good? Can we get started? Because as usual, I'm very ambitious. Let's see how far we get. Okay, so forgiveness, medicine for the soul. This is, as you people probably have noticed, we tend to talk about the things that touch us the most or that we feel that we need to revisit. And I think forgiveness, it's fairly safe to say that is one that maybe 98 of us need to revisit fairly often. Because how many opportunities we have to forgive every single day? So, as usual, and this is like there's a reason for this one, because we started talking about loving your enemies, then we talked about the parable of the sower, unconditional love, and today about forgiveness or pardon, and they are all connected. But forgiveness seems to be the one we struggle the most with, a little bit maybe. So, as usual, I have a few questions for us to reflect. And today, even before the questions, I'm going to start with a very popular cliche. Forgive and forget. That's what people say all the time. Forgive and forget. Let it go. I'm not going to sing Elsa because you're not going to like it. So, is that even possible? Is it possible to forgive and forget, do you think?
Possible, yes.
Okay. Why would forgiving benefit me? Am I not forgiving the other person? Why does it benefit me? You don't have to answer, you can just think about it. Now, let's say I decide to forgive. If I forgive, doesn't the person who wronged me get a free pass? Is it fair? They did something wrong to me, I forgive. They're free, yay! Is it fair? Shouldn't the person have to pay for wronging me? Because how dare they wrong me? I love the side. So these are all sort of cliche questions, and these are all questions that I have either personally asked myself in the past, or I have heard other people asking me. So this is why I brought them. And in the end, we're going to revisit them and we're going to answer them together without a doubt, with no doubt about any of the answers. No ifs, maybes, or buts. So, when in doubt, where do we start? Jesus. Always. So, to start with Jesus, we are going to read in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5. Do we remember what's there? Chapter 5, 6, 7, Matthew?
Is reconcile with your enemies. That's one way.
But what is it called, the 3 chapters?
Didn't she get any credit for that?
I keep drilling that into everybody's brain. One day, everybody will answer like right away. It's the Sermon on the Mount. It's where Jesus tells us how to live, how to evolve, how to become better than we are. So, chapter 5, verses 38 to 47. So I'm just going to read straight from the Bible. If I can see, like, it's cruel. The size of this print is cruel. I have a bigger print, but it's like old translation, so it's too difficult. So, let's see. Yeah, good. Okay, so 38 to 47. I'm just going to read it straight, and then later we'll refer back to it.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry, my crochet needle. Because it was in my crochet bag. So, you have heard that it was said, an eye for an eye, and a tooth for a tooth. But I tell you not to resist an evil person. But whoever slaps you on the right cheek, turn the other to him also. If anyone wants to sue you and take away your tunic, let them have your cloak also. You know, cloak? Capa, manto. And whoever compels you to go 1 mile, go with them 2. Give to him who asks you, and from him who wants to borrow from you, do not turn away. And this is not necessarily money. It could be time and attention. And then Jesus continues, as our friend Juliana said. You have heard that it is said, you shall love your enemies and you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. And by the way, Moses never said hate your enemy. Moses just said love your neighbor. Hate your enemy is what people started completing his sentence with. People, yeah, it was a cultural thing. Throughout the years, people added the second part that Moses never said. Moses never said to hate your enemies. People decided that it was the natural conclusion. Love your neighbor, hate your enemy. But Moses never said that. But people used to say, this is why Jesus mentioned it here, because people say it. But I tell you, but I say to you, love your enemies, bless those who curse you, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And the tax collectors were the most hated people at the time. And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do so? And then another passage, going to chapter 18, verses 21 and 22. It's the beginning of the parable of the unforgiving servant, the one who asks the king to forgive his debt, and then he doesn't want to forgive a much smaller debt from one of his servants. And this is the beginning of the parable. Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me, and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7. Which in basic math is?
So there is a limit.
I love that you asked that question, Alice. Love it. Because what is this? Why did Jesus say this? Why did he use these numbers specifically? Does anybody know?
Maybe he has faith that people will change by
Oh.
that time.
He doesn't have faith. He knows we will.
One day.
The time is up to us. Time frame is totally personal. But he knows we will. Why did Jesus use those exact numbers? Because they are a reference to the Old Testament. They are a reference to Genesis chapter 4, verse 24. And here we go. I love these flags. They saved my life. So here, in the beginning of the book of Genesis, it talks about Adam and Eve and their children and stuff. So in this chapter 4, they are talking about Cain murdering Abel, his brother, and then they talk about the genealogy of Cain, and they're talking about his descendants. So what Jesus said, the 70 times 7, is a reference to what one of Cain's descendants said to his wives. Because he was talking about avenging Cain, looking for revenge in Cain's name, because he was marked as a murderer. So I think his fourth or fifth generation. He's talking to his wives, and his name is Lamech, whatever. And he says, if Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, 7 times, then Lamech, like him, because he was so much better than Cain, Lamech 77-fold, 70 times 7. What does Jesus mean by this reference? Because Jesus is talking about forgiving, and Lamech is talking about revenge. To answer Alice's question, what Jesus is trying to say is that we forgive as many times as that feeling of hate and revenge and resentment comes to us. So there is a limit. Do we put a limit on how many times we want to be forgiven?
No.
Maybe there's a good hint right there. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you. So that's our first hint. We don't want a limit on forgiveness for us. Why do we want a limit on forgiveness for others? Because we need to work. I love them. Yeah. Okay, so going back, now that we did like a history lesson, going back, when Jesus says an eye for an eye, he's talking about the law of talion or the law of retaliation. You get, you give as good as you get, as they say in English. Tomou, Deus levou. Tomou, levou, Deus levou. You get as good as, you give as good as you get. What does Jesus say about it? He says it's not an eye for an eye. But he says to turn the other cheek. Does he mean we're supposed to just take it? Not say anything? Just hang in there, just bear with it? Is he asking us to be passive? When he says turn the other cheek, does he mean give the other cheek to be hit again? Would it make sense that Jesus tells us to accept that we're being hit by someone on the face?
Is it like to accept the fact that maybe they're gonna do it again and be fine with that in advance?
Isn't that still passiveness?
Yeah, too much.
Could just be meekness. Jesus allowed himself to be hit over and over, all the way until they nailed him to a cross. So I'd say if he's our master and guide, then yeah, he was absolutely saying turn the other cheek and let them hit you again.
Yeah, but we don't want to end up in a cross. So.
I was gonna say that, no, the way that I'm thinking here is like, give the other cheek and give the person the choice to do it again or not.
Okay. So, if we're talking about being hit again, it makes sense, but it's not true. It's a sophism. Because it's that same logic that people came up with of if you love your neighbor, you're supposed to hate your enemy. That's not it. That's not what was said. That's not what it means. Why? Let's reflect. Hitting a person is an act of love.
No.
It's an act of violence. Is violence in accordance to Christianity principles?
No.
Then it can't be. Then that's not the meaning. It can't be turn the face to be hit, give the face to be hit again, because that would be Jesus agreeing with, condoning with violence. right? So that's not what he means. I'm not gonna tell you what it means just yet, because we're gonna reflect on a whole lot of other things, and then this will make way more sense. Okay?
Just one question.
Bear with me, yes.
Why would he make it so complicated? Like, I'm saying one thing, that it's a pretty straightforward sentence, but it's not what I mean.
Because maybe it's not him that is complicated. It's our minds that are too simple, and we just come to our own conclusions.
Turn the other cheek against.
But when I told you about violence not being a Christian principle, you immediately agreed with me. So maybe we're not reflecting enough on it. And that's why Spiritism came. Exactly to explain those things that we haven't understood for 2,000 years. We obviously need some extra, we need like some reinforcement classes.
No, it wasn't Jesus' violence, and somebody else engages in violence. That's not our violence, that's theirs. They're the ones engaging in violence. And so the idea that by allowing it to exist, we're condoning it, is potentially something that is ostensibly true, but not necessarily. Because then otherwise you could make the argument that Jesus should not have allowed himself to become crucified, because he was being...
There was a purpose for that. That's a different thing.
Well, but I take that point. Although what I'm saying is then, for us as humans to be able to draw the line between this is acceptable violence that we accept and this is unacceptable violence becomes a little more complicated, to Alice's point.
Okay, so maybe I need to go one step extra. We are interpreting this word for word, and we're thinking of being stricken or hit physically. So that's what I'm saying. Jesus didn't mean to physically let somebody hit you again. So this is the violence, it's somebody hitting you physically. So what he's talking about is not this.
It's more about the example he's trying to
Well, I can see that we're not going to be able to go forward, so I will go deeper here because I can see some people are not happy. So, what Jesus... See, I told you forgiveness is a sensitive one. So, what Jesus is saying is, it's not because somebody did something wrong to me, it's not because somebody wronged me that I'm going to wrong them as well. That's what he's saying.
the example.
Turn the other cheek is show the person that you're not going to do the same they did to you.
Oh. Why complicated?
It's not complicated.
And this
We oversimplify sometimes.
and this makes the other person really think about why he's not doing the same
It
with me.
can, but it will depend on the person.
Yes,
And this is why I
exactly.
said this is connected to the parable of the sower.
This reminds me also Stephen, right?
Yes.
Why Stephen was so important to
Yeah.
Saul
Yeah.
transformations because he did that. He turned the other cheek.
Exactly.
This one
He never said Jesus didn't exist. He stayed true to his beliefs to the very end. So that is the turn the other cheek. Even though there was physical violence, he was meek in the sense that he didn't pay evil with evil. He paid evil with love by giving the example of staying true to everything he knew, he believed, that Jesus was the Messiah, that what Jesus came to teach was reality.
Okay, well, in this sentence, if he says, like, if someone hurts you in the face, pay back with love, maybe I mean, it's 2,000 years, like.
But I think he also wanted us to reflect maybe.
We have a whole lot more to cover.
Mark actually answers that question. There's a part in Mark, I can't remember in between which parable, where literally Jesus answers, the job for them is to receive the information, to hear, but never, to listen but never hear, to see but never, or to witness but never see, something like that. And the idea is that well, the idea is that there's two levels of teachings. There's teaching for the disciples and then there's teachings for the general public. But another way to look at it is that it's a invitation to constantly have to reflect and digest and deal with the information so that you can truly understand it, rather than just accept it on face without any necessary reflection.
So he would say something that triggers us so that it stays in our mind.
Exactly. That's what Jesus did. When a soldier hit his face in the temple, he never did the same, but he immediately looked at the soldier and asked, "Why did you hit me? I didn't do anything wrong." So Jesus asked what we call conscientious questions. He asked questions that would make us reflect on our gut reaction, our egoic feelings, and reflect. Was really that the best choice? And I love that you use the magic word of the day. Jesus, God, they don't force us, they invite us. All of this is an invitation. And us giving the example to our offenders is also an invitation. They're not going to follow our example just because we show the example. It's on their own time. We are the sowers. We show the example. We sow the seed of love. Following is up to them. It's up to the person. They might follow the example like we are trying to do with Jesus a few thousand years later. But we have all the time in the world to evolve. So, again, what is turn the other cheek? It's the essence of forgiveness. Like the main idea of forgiveness is contained in the idea of turn the cheek. So, and this is taken from a video that the author, Alirio, made, because this book, Therapeutic Invitations from Jesus, it has 7 chapters and there are 7 invitations. Invitation to learning, to love, and so on. And the last chapter is invitation to forgiveness. And Alirio says, many times we think forgiveness is something good we offer to someone who did something really bad to us. Oops, sorry, I'm getting a bot call. However, forgiveness is something good that we offer first to ourselves. And all good we do to ourselves reverberates onto others. Does that make sense? So when I forgive somebody, I'm not giving something good to somebody who gave me something bad. I'm giving something good to myself. Does that make sense?
It's like removing the heavy backpack that you're carrying.
Yes. But we're going to go deeper into that. We're going to try and understand better. So we're going to try and understand some basic concepts that will help this make more sense. Because this is beautiful. Can I practice? Right? So we're going to understand some more basic concepts to get to the point of deciding. We can practice, but we need to decide if we want to or not. So, like I said, it's the video. So let's understand some more basic concepts. What is an offense? If somebody offends me.
They hurt me.
Yeah. What is the offense? Is the action, right? The act they commit against me. Who is the offender?
The one who did it.
The one who did it. Who is the offended?
The one who suffers it.
Yeah. So far, it looks pretty obvious, right? But there's a plot twist. Of course, there's a plot twist. So, still, and this is part of both books. This is, as everybody knows, my favorite. Sublime Prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. So there's a part of the prayer where St. Francis says, where there's injury, let me so pardon. Onde houver o ódio, que eu levo o perdão. Onde houver ofensa, que eu levo o perdão. So, Alírio explains something very interesting that to me it was a big aha moment. So, maybe we are a bit confused about the offender and the offended. Because the offender is not just the person who did it. This act, offense, so the offense, the act that someone committed and that affected us will only become an offense in our hearts because there is an inner offender in us. Is that making sense, or it's more confusing?
It makes sense, but it's very, very deep.
That's why I said we started from the cliche that we don't reflect deeply about, and we're going deeper and deeper and deeper. So, what is that inner offender?
Our ego,
Ooh,
because they're so proud.
exactly. So, in the book, there's a whole lot more. There's both books have thorough explanations of what it is, where it comes from, and all of that. But like in these talks, we don't have time for all of that. So everybody is invited to grab a book and have fun. So these are just little nibbles, maybe just to, entice your appetite to study and learn more. So in psychology, the inner offender is, if we think about our ego, if we think about our pride, we have a process inside us that even when we say, oh, I'm not a perfectionist or anything, but we have a process, we all have that characteristic. We all have the egoic feeling of perfectionism. And that's where the inner offender comes from our pride. Because we feel, we tend to, most times, not always, but most times, we tend to see ourselves as being better than we actually are. So when somebody does something to me, my pride, based on that perfectionism trait that I have, will tell, and this is subconscious, the person is not aware of that. This is in the subconscious level. That perfectionism and that pride, they talk to each other and they say, how dare that person do that to me? I'm such a good person. I never did that to them. Why are they doing that to me?
I'm so perfect.
I'm so good. I don't harm a fly. I don't do anything bad to anybody. I gossip like crazy, but I don't do anything bad to anybody. So that's the inner offender. And so this is, again, this is from the book. So let's use an example to make it a little more palpable. So let's think of defamation. Somebody here in the Spiritist Center starts spreading lies about me. And they start saying things that are not true. And I get deeply offended. And I keep thinking, why did they do that to me? Like, what did I do to them that would trigger that? And that thing, and I'm ruminating that, and I keep going back to that, and I keep going back to that. One day, that person, and I'm like, I'm gonna get them back. Like, because this is not acceptable. Like, they can't have a free pass. That's not okay. What they did to me is unfair. Suddenly, that person disappears, they go back to Brazil, or they move to another province, or whatever. And years later, I'm here still thinking, I didn't get a chance to pay back what they did to me. I never got a chance to get even. So, why does the offended carry such a huge resentment? Why am I carrying all this resentment? It's because the true offender, the person may have slandered me, right? But the true offender is not like they're innocent. They did something wrong. Nobody's denying that. But the true offender has never left. It's inside the person. The one who left was the external offender. The person who slandered me left. But the real offender inside me, my pride, is still ruminating. And from the word resentment, we can understand the process. So again, sentiment, feeling. We keep going back to that and feeling that again and again and again. It's like somebody throws a rock and it hurts my forehead. And when it's starting to heal, I get an X-Acto knife and I go there and I hurt it again and I show everybody, see what that person did to me, it's bleeding, it hurts. When it starts to heal, I go back there and I hurt it again. That's what we do when we keep going back and trying to feel it again and again and again. That's the inner offender. That's our pride that doesn't want to let go. That's the egoic feeling. Does that make sense? All right. So we just can't accept that somebody dared do that to us. And it's a vicious cycle that we feed every time we go back and rethink and feel that negative feeling again. We are feeding that vicious cycle. Okay, and surprise, surprise, the only person who gets affected by resentment, well, not the only, but the person who gets affected by resentment the most is the person who's feeling it. The other one will get something, but not nearly as much as what the person who is carrying that resentment gets. So the whole process of forgiving is not necessarily about the external offender. It's about us. So if we go back to that beautiful sentence, this is why forgiving will do us good. We're not offering something good to somebody who did something bad to us. We are healing ourselves. We are breaking the cycle of hurting ourselves over and over and over again because of our pride. Why? Why is it important to get rid of the offender? What happens if we don't forgive? When we feed into the resentment, hate, and the desire for revenge, what happens in that case? Remember when we are talking about virtues and we keep saying all the time, can we give something we don't have? That's not only for virtues. That's also for negative mental energy. Every time I have resentment, hate, desire for revenge, every time it keeps coming back to me, that is a negative mental energy that I am creating. And I am sending it. I am projecting. So we project an extremely negative mental energy onto the offender. So they do get those darts of negative mental energy. But where are they coming from? Who has the mental negative energy to give? Us. So we're first doing it to ourselves. And Jesus tells us to turn the other cheek. After all of that, I dare say it sounds like a much better option. But that's my humble opinion. And in the passage, he says, to give our cloak too. If they ask for your tunic, for your shirt, give your cloak too. If they're asking for you to go 1 mile, you go 2 miles. He says, don't turn away from those who ask. Love your enemies. Bless those who curse us. Do good to those who hate us. And pray for those who persecute us. So what is Jesus doing there? He's inviting us. So those are invitations. To what?
To stop suffering.
And what breaks the cycle of an egoic feeling?
Forgiveness. Forgive.
Yep, yes. For hate and resentment, yes. But just in general. What would break the cycle of any egoic feeling?
I don't know better.
Well,
So it's
Charity.
Virtues. The virtues are what shed light into the darkness of egoic feelings. And in this case, when we're talking about resentment, hate, what's the best law we can bring to ourselves? The major law, the law of love, justice, and charity. And ask ourselves, is this loving to me and to the other person? Is this fair to me and to the other person? Is this charitable to me and to the other person? So we get that answer like right there. So he invites us to exercise the divine laws, in this case, for this egoic feeling, mainly the law of love, justice, and charity. And what happens then? If I accept Jesus' invitation, and for those who don't speak Portuguese, at the bottom it says forgiveness heals the heart. So what happens? Practically speaking, we dilute the energy of hate, resentment, and revenge. And it's in small drops, in small doses. When Emmanuel says in the text, like, forgive right away, today and tomorrow, we need to practice.
A lot.
Yeah. The speed will depend on practice, right? The more practice you have, the faster you work. So far, do we understand this? Yeah? The virtue is gonna start diluting the egoic feeling. It's not a switch on off. It's in small doses. It's small exercises every day. It's forgiving that guy who cuts in front of me in traffic. It's, forgiving somebody who says something that they didn't think about ahead of time. They didn't even mean to offend me. I got offended on my own because how dare they say that about me. But small exercises, small doses. But what if the offender insists? And you're like, Renata, but this person keeps doing the same thing again and again, and I'm offering the other cheek, and I'm not paying evil with evil. I'm giving a good example. They just don't get it. They don't get on with the program. They haven't picked up what I'm putting down. What happens if the offender insists?
You tell me.
We just don't offer them the resources, the energy that they're looking for, because they are looking for the back and forth. Somebody who keeps on it, who keeps insisting on offending you, on bugging you, they want the back and forth. So we don't give them the negative mental energy. Like they're sending darts, we don't send darts back. We turn the other cheek. We pay this love with love. In whatever shape it takes, removing yourself from the relationship. There are so many possibilities. There are so many ways that this can happen, and it's up to each situation, each person, and the possibilities. It's endless. We can't give like definition to this one. So we need to be careful not to feed into the reactive egoic movement or the passive, because it's not the whatever, do whatever you want to me, because that means I just want to feel sorry for myself and others to feel sorry for me and see how bad the other person is. That's not it. Again, it's the idea, that's not what Jesus said. So the proactive movement is when we disarm the offender. So we dilute the process of aggressiveness in whatever way we can. We dilute the desire to fight or harm. We lose the interest in the back and forth. It's like, this is not doing me any good. I'm done with this. I don't want this for myself anymore. And we are the ones who benefit the most, of course, because we are not producing that negative mental energy in order to send it to the other person.
Yeah, but I get this part, and I know it's hard and we need to work on it, but I always feel that there's a part missing that can lead us to a wrong understanding.
Isn't that what we've been doing so far?
No, it's how to protect yourself. Because if we just talk about the part that is important inside,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't talk about the outside. For example, someone's breaking into your house and they're gonna shoot your entire family. I get it. Forgiving, it's important. Whatever happens, you'll have to deal with that in your heart. Or someone is gossiping or saying bad things about you that are harming you. You need to take some actions to protect yourself. And I don't see that in the Bible. It feels like there's a part missing. Like there are moments where you have to, or you're in a divorce, or you're in a fight, or someone is suing you. You need to take action. But what are the actions that are correct to protect yourself, and what is the line where, like, okay, from now on you're just harming the other?
Okay. So the answer to that is, first of all, reflection, reflection, reflection. All the examples you gave, they range from somebody slandering you to somebody trying to kill you. That's like 0 to 100. Each situation, so it's not written anywhere because there are infinite possibilities and there's no cake recipe. There's no fail-proof method. There's no fail-safe way. It's reflection because it's not just the action. It also depends on who is perpetrating the action. An offense that comes from some people might hit you harder than offenses that come from others. So there are infinite possibilities of situations, degrees of feelings. So the answer is reflection and your conscience. If you consult your conscience, if you think, my case, what would Jesus do? Or if you think it's too high up, think of someone else that you know was somebody who was a more evolved spirit incarnated on earth and that who gave an example of what it means to follow your conscience. St. Francis of Assisi, you can pick another person. Because as long as you reflect, you consult with yourself, and you make sure that you are not trying to break or avoid any divine laws, you are going to go towards the right answer for you. Another thing that is extremely important that we were talking about it, I think last week, or it was in one of the studies this week, I can't remember. Another cliche that couldn't be any more true, it's the intention that counts. There are questions in the Spirit's book that ask about, if I kill in self-defense, is it the same as if I murder someone pre-planned? No, it's not. It's the intention that counts. If I do something that I know I'm gonna die in order to save someone else, is it considered suicide? I'll let you guys go and read that one. So there are, Allan Kardec asks a whole lot of questions. Like all my what ifs, like my inspiration is of course Kardec, and I'm also a teacher, so I have the mindset of, what about this, what about that, what about that, what about that? But the best answer is reflection and consult your conscience. From the knowledge you have, are you infringing or breaking any divine laws? Are you doing your utmost, your best effort to practice the virtue? Because there are infinite possibilities.
Yeah, because sometimes to protect yourself, you have to do things that are hard, and the person is not gonna like, or it's difficult, or even like with kids, for example, you have to tell them things.
Yeah.
And they're not gonna like it, but you have to do.
Yeah. Again, we need to reflect and consult with our conscience. Have an honest and sincere conversation with our conscience. Because we, many times, fool ourselves, we reason with ourselves to get to the conclusion we wanted from the beginning. That is not based on virtue, but on egoic feeling. Right? So, again, no cake recipe, no foolproof method. We make the efforts to get to the answer, and if it's a case, sometimes it's just a right at the moment reaction. But if it's a case where you can consult with someone that you trust, do that too. Right? If it's a possibility, sometimes it's not, but if it's a possibility, do that as well. Luis, Vitor, do you want to add something?
I was thinking, yeah, alluding to the fact that you mentioned there are infinite possibilities. You can't expect a book or a lecture to tell you all the possibilities and what to do. I think that the invitation from Christ is for us to try to understand how we should behave, so then we can come up with the answers, right? So yeah, it's not giving the cake recipe, but it's kind of telling you, salt does this, paprika does that, sugar does this, and then you can create your own recipe by kind of knowing how to behave, if that makes sense.
And I think to your point, yes, there might be cases where there is required to be apart, right? There's no more reason to be there. But that cannot be the answer for everything. Each situation will be a situation. And yes, in some cases, we, depending on the reflection and what is the context, yeah, we need to be apart because the other person, that neighbor, is not ready to do whatever needs to be done, and to protect myself, we need to do something different. But I think I always caution here, and Renata did a great job, that we cannot say, case A, use solution B. Case C, use solution C. You can't say that because it varies so much. So it depends on the person and what is happening contextually.
Yeah, and who is doing it to you? Those who love us have the power or possibility to hurt us the most because we care about them. So no one size fits all, basically.
I was reading because there is no such coincidence, at 2 in the morning I was reading the book club book, and I was writing the passage of forgiveness, right? I will not get into too much spoiler, but one of the things that I think we always need to be mindful is not to be focusing this snapshot. There is a whole other, bigger, huge picture there. And sometimes that person that is doing wrong by us, how many times we were their offender too.
Yeah.
So it's just we just cannot see. There is a lot of forgetfulness when we reincarnate, but maybe we are getting somehow what we deserve. Maybe we're the one that threw a punch and now we are getting it. So I think yes, you don't engage, but trying to see why is that happening to me? Why is my path crossing path with X, Y, Z? Or even sometimes even within the same family too. We do get hurt quite a bit.
Yeah.
We have complicated dynamics there, even in the best of the families, and there is a reason for that too. So if we take those situations as learning moments and say, maybe I don't know the why, but there is a reason, there is a purpose, and there is something for me to get out of that too.
So just to try and conclude here, is it easy?
No.
No, but as the picture shows, the idea is it's hard work because we have to get out of our comfort zone of just judging and feeling and sending the darts to actually working on ourselves. So we are invited to fulfill the law of work, which is connected to the virtue of diligence or industriousness, operosidade. Work on it, do it for our progress. And how can we do that? So there is like a lot about it in both books, and we have those books in the library. Nobody needs to pay for them or anything. And I have like the full translation of the books that I can share with Mindy and Attila. But just very quickly, there are different techniques all over. There are so many different ways you can do this. You can go to question 119a, and St. Augustine will give you one possibility of when you lay down at night, go review your day and all of that. This is another one. There are many others, and no one size fits all, no cake recipe. This one works for me, so I brought it for everybody. So how to help us develop a virtue. So it's the PARDA technique, and it's an acronym. So P for perception, acknowledgement. So first I acknowledged that I had that hate, that feeling for revenge, that resentment. Then I accept it without judging myself, without trying to punish myself, without thinking, oh, I'm a horrible person. Like, I hated that person, I'm terrible. No, it's like, okay, I had that feeling. It's natural, and I know I can deal with it. Then comes reflection. Why did I feel that? Trying to figure out what's underneath there. If it's because it's a specific person, if it's because it's specific action, why did that get to me? And then the decision. Making the decision that I want to do something about it. And many times, we either stop at the reflection or we stop at the decision. And we're like, I think I'm done, but we're not. Because there's the action. What am I gonna do about it? Because I wouldn't say useless, because it's part of the process. If we think about gears, it's like we're starting to turn the gears, but without the action, we sort of wasted energy in the first 4. And the action has 4 phases. So the first stage is when I only realize that feeling after it happened. I only realize that I'm screaming at the driver who cut me off after I screamed. And then that's it. But it's already the first stage, because I'm already realizing, I'm perceiving, I'm acknowledging that feeling inside of me. The second stage is when I realize it while I'm doing it. Like while I'm ruminating and thinking, I'm gonna pay them back, I'm gonna give them back, how dare they do that to me, how dare they say that about me. And at that stage, I can choose to continue feeling that, because sometimes we like those feelings. Sometimes we love listening to those revenge stories on videos, on Instagram or whatever, because it gives us, that satisfaction, oh, somebody got revenge. Third stage, when I realize before I feel it, when it starts coming up like, oops, was it that bad? Was what they did really that bad? And then again, I can still choose to give, way to that feeling, or to go like, not worth it. That's not where I want to be. That's not where I want to go. And the fourth stage is, I don't know, for me, maybe about 1,000 or 2,000 years ahead, I don't know. It's when we don't have that feeling anymore. We have already learned that specific virtue. So this is again an oversimplification. There's a whole lot more in the books. I highly recommend. They're in the library. It's free. So what I would like to bring to finish this is those questions again. So why would forgiving benefit me? We're talking about studies and researches done between 2011 and 2025 by some of the biggest universities in the world, who came to the conclusion that forgiveness will give us less stress, less depression, less anxiety. This is not Spiritism talking. This is university research. Better mental health and psychological well-being, psychosocial well-being. Better self-reported physical health. Lower risk of mortality, especially in older population. And there's another study that actually concluded from, and this is like some of the universities. There's another study from Harvard, I think a bit older, that concluded that people who forgive live longer and much healthier than people who admittedly choose not to forgive. These are numbers, hard numbers. But if I forgive, doesn't my offender get a free pass? Is that fair? And Jesus said, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven, for he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good. He sends rain to the righteous and to the unrighteous. What are we talking about here? Do I doubt the divine laws? Do I trust the divine laws? Do I doubt that God is supremely good and fair? If I doubt God, if I think God is not fair, then I will be worried about this. But if I understand that the divine laws are for everybody, that God is fair, if I truly believe that, I don't need to worry about anybody else. It's hard enough to worry about myself. Why am I worried about what the other person is going to get for what they did? The divine laws are for everybody. It's not just for me. I'm not getting the short end of the stick by any means. We all get mercy from God. So, is it possible to forgive and forget? No, it isn't. To forgive, yes. To forget is Alzheimer's. Because it's not about forgetting the fact. It's about not having the feeling or the resentment for the offense when you remember the fact. It's completely different. It's like a scar that has healed. You can see it, but it doesn't hurt anymore. And that's how we know we have forgiven, because it doesn't hurt anymore when we think about the fact or the person. So, understanding ourselves, we can understand others. And this is the point that Juliana was talking about. If I can make a mistake, so can other people. If I am God's child, so are the other people. If I want God's mercy for myself, so do other people. And if I can develop virtues, so can they. If one day I will lead an entire galaxy, so will they. Saulo said that in a lecture, and I thought it was so brilliant. And he said that this is how he started practicing the virtue of patience in traffic. That somebody did something that would annoy him, he would think to himself, one day, that person is going to lead an entire galaxy. They are going to get you relative perfection, just like I am. Right? So if we understand all of this about ourselves, and we trust God and the divine laws, that will bring us peace of mind. We don't need to do justice with our hands. We don't need an eye for an eye. So, the sources, Bible, the video, Convites ao Perdão, the video, Terapia do Perdão, by the speaker Simão Pedro, Convites Terapêuticos de Jesus, and Sublime Oração de São Francisco de Assis. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about the time. I was waiting for Luis to do the Oscar thing, and
I'm almost there.
yeah, I'm at your limit, right? You said 10 minutes is your limit. I made it, Luis, I made it. Okay.
Thank you, Renata.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, because this is a touchy one. This is something that speaks very close to me. And now we're going for our passes. Oh no, we're doing the final prayer. And then we go for the passes. Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's close our eyes. And connect our thoughts and our feelings with the message and the example that Jesus gave us by forgiving unconditionally, even at the cross, when he was being physically and morally attacked. He was still able to show us how to forgive. We thank you, Father, for giving us as many chances as we need to learn, to evolve, and to forgive, and to become better today than we were yesterday. We ask our guardian angels to inspire us, to help us reflect, to give us the energy so that we can develop the courage to change ourselves, the will to transform everything that we feel can be improved in ourselves. May we have a week full of prayer, full of reflection, and full of light and protection. So be it.